But welcome everybody. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button.
I remember in middle school when you felt self-conscious if you were the last one to go through puberty. That really went topsy-turvy, didn't it?
Sometimes the Hasbara, it's too much explaining yourself and it's too apologetic.
Be sure to hit the notifications bell.
I actually do believe Israel won't just bomb countless civilians.
Be sure to tweet this out. Be sure to put this up on your Facebook.
You have to be kind to people. Be kind to the guys in this mess in the first place.
Put this up on your Reddit.
Chile is a country.
Be sure to cut and paste, a link to this to go into your favorite Facebook chat group.
It's good to see so many normal people in here.
Now, spanking isn't just my deep, dark personal secret. It's America's deep, dark secret.
I've never seen it explained so simply anywhere.
Put this on WhatsApp. Put this on Telegram. Put this on your favorite messenger app.
Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull called Elise. Hello, Adam. How you doing? How's everybody doing, chat? Well, first of all, let's just say rest in power to Asada Shakur, as I saw a post put it earlier today. As sad as her loss is, there is the fact that she died free, and the bounty on her head, which was doubled by Barack Obama, it's worth remembering, was never collected by anybody. So, that's at least something. It is a reminder, if nothing else, that the ruling class isn't invincible, even if they try to make us think they are. Also, on the subject of things that aren't invincible, I recently, good friend of the stream, Hex and Definitive, shared a video. I'm gonna drop the link in chat about how Tor, the anonymized internet access project, generally thought of as extremely secure. Well, some researchers at Princeton worked out, I think 9 years ago, apparently, that there was an attack vector that was highly effective at de-anonymizing Tor users. And Tor has not fixed this. So that's a thing to know if you rely on Tor to anonymize your communications. You should probably be relying on other things. That's that video that I've just linked in chat. But, yeah. Also, I happened to see something rather interesting. It just showed up in my, now I'm gonna have to find it again. It showed up in my recommendations, and so I looked it up. It was, Hassan was talking about how actually the Gen Z appeal of Charlie Quick's fucking Kirk never is bullshit, and I thought we'd just have a look at that, because there's this narrative that the ruling class is very clearly very committed to creating around that prick and around his legacy and around how we should think about him and all that stuff. And I think the only thing for it really in those situations, especially when there is a campaign of intimidation to get people to go along with this bullshit narrative, is to cook it. Is to just fucking cook it. And so here we go. Here we go. So this is a study that was done on university students, the exact demographic that TP USA, for your bunghole USA, is supposed to be engaging with. Okay, have you heard of him? 94% said yes, 66% lied, is my guess. How often have you watched or listened to Charlie Kirk's content in the past year? 36% said never, 33% said once or twice, only 21% said a few times per month, and the few times per week or daily or almost daily is in the single digits, 9% total. So, yeah. Now, to what extent do you agree with Charlie Kirk's views? Strongly agree, 10%. Somewhat agree, 20%. So that's 30% right there. 70% disagree, either somewhat or strongly. This is the target demographic, the demographic we're supposed to think that he did such a good job of reaching. You know, and Ezra Klein says we absolutely, you know, he did politics right because he persuaded people. And no, actually, the people he was getting paid to persuade, you know, Generation Z university students, overwhelmingly not impressed with him. And I mean, here's just another one. Okay, so do you think that the murder of Charlie Kirk was justified? And it's interesting when you look at it because the percentage who are like wavering on this is fairly high, 22%. 11% say probably justified, and 4% say definitely. Only, only 63% are sure of themselves on this. Does that add up to 100? 63, 33. Yes, it does. Okay. I was wondering if they had left a don't know in there. So, yeah, I mean, this is the generation, this is the demographic that he supposedly did such a great job convincing. I got this, Hassan was talking about it, and a clip of him talking about it showed up in my recommendations. Okay, so that's actually where we are with... it turns out the people that Kirk was most popular with is the same sort of people that that Olivia Olivia, I forget, is most popular with. Namely, like, the 50-plus demographic. Now, as part of the civic duty to just completely cook this asshole and cook the narrative that they're trying to build around him, I thought we might look at this, what they're calling a memorial service. Although, I've never seen a memorial service with pyrotechnics and a merch table before. So I don't know that that's necessarily the word I'd use. I mean, it looked more like a fucking halftime show to me. And I thought we might look at a little bit of this. And then, Ezra Klein, the smartest boy, the guy who did a whole thing about how Charlie Kirk did politics the absolute right way, but like not so right that you would be able to quote even a single thing that he says. Well, he's got another one out, a video on his fucking show. I did not know he had a show on here, and you can believe we're going to be seeing some of this dickhead going forward now that I know that. But he decided to do a collab with white nationalist influencer and fucking Smurf voice Ben Shapiro about how we are going to have to live here with each other. But here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Pastor Rob McCoy.
I mean, one of the best things about these memorials is, like, okay, these are for a right-wing audience. Like, the only people who ever had any time for this prick. And apparently, even for them, they judged that the actual things he said... I mean, the guy spent his life in front of a microphone. There are plenty of quotes, if that's the issue. So clearly that's not the issue. But instead, they decided to deepfake him. They actually announced this. They said, we're going to give you AI of him saying things, because the only way we can come up with any imagery of this motherfucker saying anything remotely socially acceptable is if we deepfake him. So that was fun. And I hope you all saw the image. It reminded me of something a few years ago. Katie Hopkins, far-right ghoul in Britain, took a picture of herself with like a target-shaped sticker on her forehead and said, "This is what it is to be a white person in modern times." And somebody said, "Yeah, because it's a fake target and you put it there yourself." But, I mean, that has now been eclipsed. That has been eclipsed by white dude in a suit bearing a prop cross with training wheels. And I hope that that footage is in here. I've only seen stills of it. But, I mean, that's just so perfect.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming out to honor Charlie Kirk. God bless all of you and all of you tuning in online around the world. I know you're all wondering who is he and why is he here, and I'm asking myself the same question.
Yeah, I am wondering that, but I'm guessing you're here to grift, because that's why everybody is there. Either you're there to grift, or you're there to actually provide money to grifters.
Charlie Kirk called me his pastor.
Are you saying that you weren't that?
I called him my friend.
Okay. This just sounds like a really bad remake of a Paul Simon song.
I was with Charlie about a little over 2 weeks ago in Korea as he was supporting...
Yeah, there are lots of fash in Korea. And the Korean fash are just so pathetically subservient to anything in the anything US. Like, one of the big controversies, sort of perennial controversies of post-fascist South Korea is that their army is still technically under ultimate US command. If it is wartime, if it is DEFCON 1, then technically their general staff just become middle management for US military officers, and a lot of people don't think that's great. Because they feel like maybe they should haven't, if their army is not under their, the control of Korean officers when they're in war, then they kind of don't have an army of their own, and maybe they should. But the far right, the Korean far right opposes this. They oppose the idea of an even somewhat nominally independent South Korean army. They just want the country to be a fucking colony.
Persecuted Christians over there as they're raiding churches and imprisoning pastors.
What? He's talking about South Korea here. Like, there would be something to be said if you were talking about North Korea. Yeah, Christians can sometimes have it difficult there. I mean, there seem to be some fairly reliable reports about that, but in South Korea, shut the fuck up. I mean, what is it? This has to be to do with the coup attempt.
And he spoke to the youth there that now are chanting on the streets, "I am Charlie Kirk, standing for freedom," across that country.
Yeah, I would love to see how many of the youth are chanting that.
In a conversation with Charlie in the green room in Korea, he said something...
Is this guy trying to sound like a somewhat more normal sounding Alex Jones?
...that he'd said a number of times. He said...
Wait, was it going to be something racist about Asians? Because I can totally... That would be on brand for him if it was something racist about Asians.
He kept calling me his pastor, and I stopped him. I said, "Charlie, since the president's gotten elected, your stock has risen through the stratosphere."
Like, okay, and what does that have to do? Like, okay, I'm Jewish, so maybe I've missed something, but like, is that a thing where if you become like influential, that therefore you no longer have a pastor or something? What the fuck? How's this work?
And I don't see much of you. I mean, he wasn't a very good congregant. He was on the road 320 days.
Kind of a piece of shit.
A year. But he said, "Rob, not only are you my pastor, but you're America's pastor."
Really? Then why did you start your fucking speech with Who am I and why am I here? Because it sounds like you assume that most of the people in the US haven't heard of you. Or even most of the people in this audience haven't heard of you.
And I said, Charlie, if we were at a tabling event on a campus where you had the table said, prove me wrong, I'd win.
Wait, at proving him wrong? I mean, that's not much of a flex. Anyone who can read can prove him wrong.
And he looked at me with that sheepish grin that he always has.
And said, that's not much of a flex. With his tiny little face.
Doggone it if he wasn't right. I mean, I wasn't America's pastor 2 minutes ago, and I won't be after this, but for right now, he proved me wrong.
Well, I mean, who... So this is, so far he's just been promoting his own fucking brand.
In a moment, you're going to hear from the most powerful political people in the free world.
What? You mean we're going to hear Nasruddin al-Houthi?
You're going to hear from the who's who.
Oh, well...
And they're going to assemble in this place to talk about what Charlie Kirk did in 31 years on this earth.
And it's... Wow, it's such a pity that the wiring was up to code.
He had more lifetimes in 31 years than all of us have in the entirety of our own.
No, I don't think that's how lifetimes work, actually. Oh, wait, is he saying, I mean, is this because, like, a coward dies 1,000 deaths, or what? Like, what does that fucking mean?
And as I was thinking about that, to recount all that he's accomplished in 31 years is quite...
I'd love to hear, like, one thing he actually accomplished other than making a shitload of money.
Defeat. I mean, I was just telling the Turning Point staff as I walked in here, everyone is worried that the Turning Point isn't going to be successful.
I mean, I don't think they have to worry about that. They will find another fucking Charlie Kirk. They're fucking dime a dozen. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, it's wild when it turned out to be a right-wing white dude. Suddenly they want forgiveness. Hello, Sophic Manatee. Yeah, I mean, it just, the whole thing, so far this whole speech has been brand building.
And I looked at
Is this your first time here? I feel like I might have seen your name someplace before, but if it is, welcome. Always good to have you.
each and every one of them, and for those of you who are negative...
The thing about this guy's voice is he sounds like a character actor. Like, literally, just because of the way that he talks, between his pronunciations and the sort of, raspy, gravelly thing he's got going, I expect jokes.
Without Charlie Kirk's presence, they pulled off the largest event in Turning Point history.
Well, it doesn't sound like... That doesn't really say much, does it, though? I mean, that doesn't say much about him. Aw, thank you. So what you're saying is that actually maybe this thing works better if you don't have Charlie Kirk in the mix?
Let's thank them. Turning Point is alive and well.
I mean... Yeah, because it's AstroTurf. And this is the thing that I feel, that part of the reason I brought up that poll, because it's not the only poll of that sort. It is very easy if you look at the media and you look at the sort of image of the public, of the general public that the media reflects back to us, to get the idea that assholes like this are in the majority, that they are at the very least respected, and no, they're fucking not. No, they're fucking not. Actually, it is a very niche demographic. It is a minority, and when you get down to the people who are really active in it, it is a tiny fucking minority. The only reason it looks like they're big is because there's big money behind them. It is pure AstroTurf, which is why it is so appropriate that this is happening at a stadium where AstroTurf was born. Not this specific stadium, but I mean stadiums in general. The genre is where AstroTurf was born.
I appreciate that, but you're taking my time here. Sit down.
This guy would be played by Wallace Shawn in the movie. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the whole reason you have to intimidate people into pretending to be sad about this shit is precisely that nobody gave a shit about this guy. Either people hadn't heard of him or they didn't like him.
I want to do two
Most
things,
people.
and then I want to do what I've been called to do. First of all, I was thinking...
Okay, we're going to let this guy do his two things, and then we're going to skip ahead and see...
of Abraham Lincoln when I was reflecting on Erica.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's such an interesting person to bring up when you're doing a eulogy for a guy who was low-key pro-slavery.
And their two children, and for Charlie's parents and his sister. Abraham Lincoln said to Mrs. Bixby when she had lost sons in the Civil War, he wrote these words, "I feel how weak and fruitless must be any word of mine to beguile you from the grief of a loss so overwhelming. We can't bring him back, but we thank you for
Please don't try.
raising him. We thank you for loving him. Erica, for being the strength in his life."
Yeah, he actually has more presence than Caleb Maupin. Like, if Caleb Maupin actually was able to talk even remotely this fluidly, I would be a little bit more worried about Caleb Maupin. Although, I mean, he has, like, this Buddy Hackett voice. You know, like, he just feels like the comic sidekick character in a movie starring fucking Gary Busey. That's what this voice is giving, and it makes it, my brain, it just is primed when I hear this kind of voice to think something like they're going to be wisecracks or some shit.
And we pray for this family, and we ask God's comfort and peace upon you. In Jesus' name, amen.
I'm surprised Caleb Maupin wasn't there. Actually, now that you mention it, I wonder what he's said about this. I'm sure he said something. When Fash died, he's always there to cry about it.
Now my responsibility, entrusted to me by my friend and his wife. You're going to hear of what Charlie did, but I'm here today to tell you the why.
Well, because he was an asshole. We know the why. I mean, when you see the what, then you know the why.
What he did. The why brought him the courage. The why brought him the wisdom and the strength. The why...
The Y here, it is actually the letter Y, and it's your boy standing next to you with a huge pile of money that he's going to give you for saying racist things to people.
Is the one that Charlie wanted to welcome as the guest of honor. The guest of honor, his resume is long. He's the King of Glory. He's the Prince of Peace.
Like, knowing this, I was low-key not sure if this guy was ever, this pastor was ever going to, like give Jesus a look in. Fucking hell. Okay, so, yeah, okay, the guest of honor is Jesus. Apparently. But neat. Okay, so we're gonna skip ahead. Who we got? Fucking military honors for what? Or are those cardboard? No, they're not cardboard cutouts. There was something, the light was hitting them, it made them look one-dimensional for a second. Did you say goat turd? Like, this is I hope they're all terribly embarrassed to have been part of this. Like, I mean, there have been interesting interviews and things with people in the National Guard who've been involved in the shit in DC, and apparently they hate it. They're pissed off that they've been ordered to do it, and they feel deeply embarrassed about it. And all those things are good. They should. And everything should be done to increase that feeling in order to encourage them to refrain from doing it. I mean, actually, I believe from my reading of the UCMJ that this is a court-martial offense because they're using the uniform to market a commercial product or service. Oh, also, they're wearing the uniform at a political rally. That's not something you're actually allowed to do. I mean, technically, I don't think he's going to have problems because the convening authority is also there. But, yeah, I mean, all of that, what they just did there...
Please welcome to the stage Rebecca Dunn.
Who the fuck is Rebecca Dunn? Okay, Rebecca Dunn. Who is she? A leading Turning Point USA donor. The Dunn Foundation. Okay, she is a big part of the reason that... Okay, she has 50 million... Her net worth is apparently estimated to be 50 mil, and I guess she's decided between 50 to 100 mil. And let me see. The Dunn Foundation. Okay, SourceWatch. Dunn Foundation. Oh, yay. SourceWatch has something for us. I always love it when SourceWatch has something for us. I'm going to just open a little new tab. We can look at this, and I'm going to drop the link in chat. Because SourceWatch is a wonderful fucking resource, and I highly recommend it. It's from the Center for Media and Democracy, and what they do is they go through the tax filings of all these like dodgy, of like all your think tanks and groups like that, and the tax filings of people who are well-known donors. And the idea is to work out where the money for these things is coming from. So, okay. The Dunn Foundation, formerly Dunn's Foundation for Right Thinking. Wow. Wow, that's totally unsuspicious. Is the private foundation founded in 1993 by Florida multimillionaire William A. Dunn, president of Dunn Capital Management. According to the trust agreement, the foundation aims to, quote, advance the understanding and practice of classical liberalism, market capitalism, free enterprise, individual political and economic liberty, and to reduce the impact of the use of threat of force by coercive organizations, except the cops, I'm gonna guess, both public and private, against the people of America and the world. The Dunn Founder is a major funder of national and state right-wing nonprofits. Okay, who we got? Ties to the Koch network. Oh, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Okay, they've provided fundings to Americans for Prosperity and the Stand Together Trust. State Policy Network, another big, just complete rat's nest of right-wing money. Alliance Defending Freedom, they're the people who go to court to like take away trans people's human rights. America First Incorporated, America First Legal, Americans for Fair Treatment, the Blexit Foundation? Is this to get Britain out of the European Union? Cato Institute, the Center for Race and Opportunity. There's absolutely nothing dodgy about that. Fucking donors, trusts. Oh, wow. I mean, it's scumbagical. Yeah, I'm not going to go through the whole thing right now, but check that out at your leisure. And check out SourceWatch in general. It really is a great website. And you can get it really, when you're trying to figure out, when you hear that sort of, that sound that tells you that you're listening to some dodgy AstroTurf group, often you can just put it into SourceWatch and you'll see exactly where the money is from. So, like, her entire thing is that she's rich. This is why she's here. And she thinks that she's Nancy Reagan and it's 1982. Like, I thought, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought this was supposed to be a memorial. I mean, like, aren't you supposed to wear black? I mean, at least pretend.
Charlie Kirk was scheduled to speak at my husband's upcoming memorial. Instead, I am here speaking at Charlie's memorial.
Well, I mean, it's the least you could do for a loyal employee. Also, oh no, okay. The big strings of like...
It means a lot to share my story.
Oh god, I can't wait to hear her story. I mean, because, you know, she started out as a mere heiress.
Almost 12 years ago, I met this bright young man filled with optimism about his plan to reach young people.
And he introduced you to Charlie Kirk?
I was so impressed that I invited him to come to our home and tell my husband and me more about his organization. That young man, of course, was Charlie Kirk, and his organization was Turning Point USA.
Yeah, I mean, what's really fascinating about this is that the whole point of groups like this, the whole point of AstroTurf is that you're not supposed to actually see the strings. And here, she's the strings! Right here, the strings are here talking. Mr. Tinyface showed up and said, "Please, can you pull my strings for me?" And she said, "Yes, we'll pull your strings. You do very good racisms, and we want to help." Like, I mean, like, if it wouldn't, this motherfucker would be absolutely nothing if it wasn't for right-wing billionaires like that. Well, she's not a billionaire, 100 million. A mere multi-millionaire. A mere almost billionaire. If it wasn't for people like this pumping money into his bullshit, you'd never have heard of this guy. Because he has nothing. He was, there's nothing about him that in any way would recommend itself to people. The reason that anyone has heard of him is that people with money shoved him down our throats. And here she is, explaining how she decided to shove him down our throats.
Charlie told us how he wanted to start 2 chapters in North Florida. When asked how much money it would take, he told...
In the end, he finally started an epilogue.
Because he thought it would take about $50,000. Not knowing anything about this young man except that he sounded impressive.
What happened then? Because he hasn't sounded impressive to anyone since then.
We told him that if he could raise the first half, we would give him the remaining $25,000.
Which immediately makes me wonder what rich fuck he went to get the other $25K.
Later, Charlie called to say that he had raised the money.
Wow. First of all, I have to say, like, so literally, her only real criterion for working with this jabroni is that she managed to find some other rich fuck to cover half of his care and feeding. Wow, I mean, what a fucking story. So, this asshole came to me, and he wanted money. And I have lots of money, and I could have just gave it to him. But instead, what I did was I said, find half of the money from somebody else, and then I'll give you the other half. Wow, I mean, impressive story. Just wonderful fucking people. Like, people are fucking doing GoFundMes for their just basic health expenses and basic living expenses because everybody's fucked. And somebody like this has 100 mil and just drops 25 grand on the first tiny-faced white supremacist to show up at her door. Yeah, I mean, very true, Sophic Manatee. They're really... It's very mask off anymore.
He was not in his hometown. He was not even in his home state. He was 20 years old.
And he came from fucking money, it's worth noting. It's not like there are people, you know, most people, I would say, in fact, if you told them, raise 25 grand and I'll give you another 25 grand, for most people that would be difficult. But that motherfucker came from money to begin with. Like, he came surrounded by the sort of people who can drop 25 grand on something on a whim that is not immediately going to bring them a return in a tangible, you know, pecuniary sort of way.
Yet he met our challenge. I laughed and I told him, I said, well, Charlie, I guess we owe you a check.
See, I mean, I would have been much more impressed, actually, if it had turned out that he actually hadn't raised the 25K. If he'd just gone to them going, yeah, I mean, I need what I really need is 50 grand. And they said, we'll give you 25K if you raise the other 25. And then he just told them that he had, even though he didn't, and got 25 grand for free. That would have been a much better story. This is just... In fact, I mean, I wonder how, I mean, certain things that I've seen make it seem like people like this are actually pretty easy to take money off of because it means nothing to them at a certain point. And there's part of me that thinks some enterprising young person could probably get 25K off these people just by pretending to want to start a right-wing, like, student group. And, you know, they're going to get a matching donation someplace else.
Charlie Kirk,
and then just run off into the sunset.
Grant. After that initial grant, we followed suit with multiple challenge grants, each one larger than the previous.
I mean, this is wild. The first person we hear from at this thing has very little personal to say about him. The second one is just the money. And she's like, oh wow, you know, he was very good at the money. He was very good at, like, rich people loved throwing money at him. And that's all we've had. 17 minutes into this, and it's like, not a single, like, tender moment, nothing, and nothing about, like, any evidence of him ever having been a good person. Okay, who's this next person?
We had the pastor, I'm the school teacher.
This guy has the same voice as the first guy.
I have one short story to tell you about Charlie Kirk, my friend. He became a friend of mine because I interrogated him one time. 19-year-olds are my specialty.
I mean, in these circles, I don't think you should say things like that because people could misunderstand it. I mean, Donald Trump's there, isn't he? And I mean, he also would say that like teen girls are his specialty.
Some questions he couldn't answer.
Oh, I mean, I don't think that would actually be hard because he didn't know anything.
And he was already becoming famous. And I noticed his reaction. He said, "What should I do?" And I said, "Well, you have to suffer. If you want to grow, you have to suffer."
Well, okay, in which case, the fact that he couldn't go anywhere on campus, like, contrary to this bullshit narrative, let's just remember, the main reason that people, when Charlie Kirk would show up with his little fucking traveling circus on campuses, what would actually happen is people would show up to protest it. And so he has to suffer, he's saying. Well, everybody was helping him to suffer. Like, I mean, I guess we all contributed, and you shouldn't blame any of us for what happened. Yeah.
Hard to learn. Into the night. Crack of dawn in the morning. Start with the Bible. Read the classics. Study the founding of America.
I mean, I guess that's one way to suffer.
In those places you will find that there's a ladder that reaches up toward God. And at the bottom of it is the ordinary good things that are around us everywhere.
Hey, Badger, how you doing? We're watching a bit of the Charlie Kirk, the memorial service with the pyrotechnics and the merch table. And all the really creepy fucking people who've shown up, like the number 2 person was just the money.
If we can call them by their name.
Rebecca Dunn is who we have to thank for having heard of this asshole.
They have being. And the beings of the good things are figments of God. You will find that article in Aristotle. You will find it in the Bible. You will find it in Madison and Jefferson.
Wait, so who plagiarized who? You're saying that everybody used that same line, which isn't a very good line?
How do I learn that? He said. I said, you have to suffer.
Wait, how do you learn what? I mean, I thought you were just saying, what, to read? To read the things that he listed? Charlie didn't know how to read at 19 when he came to him? I mean, okay.
You have to study. You have to think. I thought I'd never hear from him again.
But unfortunately...
Within a month, he got hold of my cell phone number and he texted me a copy of a certificate of completion of a Hillsdale College online course. He would go on to do that 31 times.
Wow. So he was stalking him.
I keep a list in my head of the 6 or 8 young people, and I'm very privileged I get to know many inspiring young people who are the best I ever saw. Charlie is the only one who was never a full-time student at Hillsdale College who was on that list. We will miss him dearly. He can't be replaced.
He could be replaced. You could literally go into a shitty sports bar around closing time, go into the back corner, and listen to the guy who's grumbling incoherently and saying things that sound like slurs, and you've got your replacement. Yeah, I know. Like, this guy, apparently all he did was keep sending him certificates. Like, did he not know that this guy, like, was... probably knows who completes things at Hillsong College, which is, if I remember correctly, some sort of far-right thing that's actually quite big in Australia, is my understanding. They were responsible for a number of government-sanctioned super-spreader events in the early years of the pandemic.
You know,
if this is the same Hillsong that I'm familiar with.
Thing is the thing that has being. An assassin is not a thing that has being.
What the fuck does that mean? I mean, yes it is. Like, I mean, are you saying that an assassin... Okay, an assassin doesn't have being, so an assassin isn't? Like, what does that mean? Like, everything that exists has being. What the fuck? What kind of Heidegger bullshit is this?
The assassin must give up his humanity to destroy something that has being.
Well, I mean, in this case, I guess it kind of cancels out. Because, I mean, that motherfucker didn't, certainly had given up his humanity.
Charlie lives on. The assassin will die.
Christ. Like, so the one thing that he's got, I mean, this guy managed to get a plug for his, like, probably for-profit school in there. Okay, who the hell are these people? And what is she wearing? Like, is this Glenda the Good Witch?
Called Charlie unique. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone.
Do we have to, like, clap 5 times to believe in her?
My name is Mikey McCoy. I had the unique honor, blessing, and privilege of a lifetime to not only call Charlie a precious friend, mentor, but to travel with him literally every...
Well, I would be surprised if they even offer that class, personally.
Everywhere. The first time I met Charlie was when I was driving him and his then girlfriend Erica to the airport after he had spoken at my father's church. The entire car ride, he was grilling me on Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, American history.
Wow, he sounds like a pain in the ass.
At the end, he said, "Don't go to college, come work for me instead." At 18, I canceled my college plans, moved to Arizona. My life was forever changed by...
Wow, so that's some asshole says that and you just do it?
Charlie.
I mean, I guess the money's probably right. Clearly, money was not a problem. But, like, I'm still, like, mesmerized by this, like, fucking pixie outfit.
All of us in this room have that in common.
Well, except for, like, some of us in this room probably didn't get a whole bunch of money off it.
My first day working at Turning Point, I met an incredible girl who Charlie was interviewing on his podcast, sharing the story of her family who had survived a totalitarian regime, whose grandfather was imprisoned in the gulags for 10 years for preaching the gospel.
Which regime are we talking? I mean, he says gulag, so maybe it's the Soviet Union. But, fuck knows. He could be, I mean, knowing these people, he could be talking about Canada.
Elizabeth and I were married a year later. Thank you, Charlie.
Apparently, Grindr servers were overloaded in the area where this took place.
When Charlie would speak on college campuses, he'd often wear t-shirts with inspiring taglines like, "Here I am, never surrender, freedom."
Wow, I mean, those are so original. Here I am. That's very inspiring. That's very inspiring. Okay, moving on. What have we got?
Wanted to hire her. I only had one problem. Charlie Kirk wanted to date her. Long story short, I was very worried he was going to scare her off and screw it up.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, that's probably a very common reaction of women to being in his presence.
Gonna lose this incredible prospect.
Okay, this guy looks like Michael Keaton's fucking stunt double. Who is he? Yeah, this is a marketing thing.
Thinks he put his mind to. Charlie accomplished everything he put his mind to. They immediately fell in love, and I lost an employee. But now she's my boss. I'm sure you've heard. We love Erica Kirk.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, she is your boss.
Over the years, we built a lot of things. The largest field operation in the conservative movement between high school, college, faith, and action.
Which, I mean, doesn't say all that much. I mean, that's one of the things that's remarkable. Because, again, you could get the idea from the way this shit gets blown up in media presentations and the way, like, liberals will talk about it. Like, it's just the mainstream. It's the normal thing that these are, like, the normal people that everybody has. Like, I mean, Ezra Klein was on his bullshit again, talking about how there need to be more anti-choice Democrats because they need to woo people in Ohio, Kansas, and Missouri, which is an interesting collection of states that he listed because every one of those had an abortion rights referendum that passed overwhelmingly. Like, but they have to pretend that no matter how fucking marginal the figure is as a matter, a matter of popular opinion, they have to, the fact that they have money behind them means they have to pretend that this is just, this is just who you have to talk to. It doesn't matter how fucking minuscule their actual street presence is. They don't care. Because it's all about moving the Overton window rightward.
The first ever ballot chase operation that won the election for President Trump. The largest events in the conservative movement, most of which have been huge, but in convention centers.
Wow, I mean, it says something that they have to say that, the largest right-wing events, like, most of them have been in, like, convention centers, and it's like, so what you're saying is that these events generally aren't very big, actually.
In 2021, in the aftermath of COVID, we weren't sure if society...
What aftermath? It's still going on.
...was ever going to bounce back and ever get back to normal. So we began planning what was one of the crazy ideas known as America Fest. I hope you'll all be there this year. We decided to move it to Swing State, Arizona, and hope and pray that this would work after the world shut down for so long. Charlie, like all our 24/7 ideas sessions, texted me and our VP of events, Lauren.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's really remarkable. But I'm gonna switch over and we're gonna look at Ezra Klein singing a fucking duet with Ben Shapiro about how we're gonna have to live with Nazis. Hey, Anthony Manzano, welcome. Thanks for the sub.
Last week, Charlie Kirk was murdered while speaking at Utah Valley University.
Okay, so we're switching over to Ezra Klein. Ezra Klein, for anyone who's just coming in, for anyone who did not see it, which would be, I mean, I envy those who didn't see it. I did. But he did this thing about how fascist provocateur and generally inarticulate asshole Charlie Kirk did politics exactly the right way, and he was just exactly an inspiration and stuff like this. And the amazing thing about Ezra Klein's article was that he did that, like the whole genre of articles talking about what a great guy Kirk supposedly was, is that there wasn't a single quote from him, because it is apparently impossible to find a single even marginally socially acceptable thing he ever said, except maybe like hello. Oh, well, because there is a big push to just sort of normalize fascism. That's the explanation. That's the whole thing. It's about normalizing fascism. That's what Ezra Klein's doing. That's what Obama's doing with his fucking sucking up. All of these people, that's all they're doing.
His murder has shaken me pretty deeply. In the days after his assassination, when I would close my eyes, I just kept imagining a bullet going through a neck.
Wait, this is so interesting. Okay, I'm just going to do a look because I feel like I know the answer to this, but I like to not just feel like I know the answer to things. I like to know the answer. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to do a little Google search. Ezra Klein, Gaza. Okay. Belatedly Okay, he interviewed a war criminal to... Let's see. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, it is deeply infuriating. Okay. Let's move this back. Because, I mean, this is, right now, I should have done this in the first place. Custom range. So we're going to say from 10/08/2023 to 12/31/2024. I do this because a lot of people have been belatedly trying to whitewash their records. And so now suddenly they're saying, oh yeah, I guess it is a genocide after all. But, so, I mean, although it doesn't seem like Klein has done that. But... I think it's complete nonsense, actually, because there's literally no reason they would. Israel is naming shit after Charlie Kirk. He was a fanatical defender of the genocide. I mean, he was that perfect combination from a Zionist perspective of deeply anti-Semitic and fanatically Zionist that they love. So yeah, Israel didn't do this shit. They didn't need to. They wouldn't have wanted to. He was very much on side with them.
But it disturbed me in a different way when I would open my eyes and look online to see some of Kirk's allies declaring war.
Well, I mean, did you realize, Ezra, that they've been doing that for years now? That's not a new thing that they're doing. They've been declaring war for a while, and then they go off and shoot people, and drive their cars into people, and beat the fuck out of people, and stuff like that. This isn't some new thing that they've suddenly said this is war. I mean, these motherfuckers were stockpiling weapons for ages. You know, they blew up a federal building, you may remember. Like, this is war is how they start the day.
Insisting that normal politics had failed.
Again, this is, like, if you pay any attention to these motherfuckers... Well, I believe that Zionism... I mean, Zionism definitely... There is an aspect of Zionism that is very much Jewish self-hatred. I mean, because if you look at something... There's something called negation of the galut. And it is a very central bit of this sort of cultural practice of Zionist ideology. And it's all about how Jews have to sort of negate and erase all of the culture and all of the history that we built in our respective homelands over the past 2,000 years in favor of whatever fucking slop Zionism comes up with, which is mostly just culturally appropriated Palestinian food.
That the time to cleanse this country of the radical left.
I mean, are you... Okay, just two things immediately that come to mind. And one is what I already said. They've been talking like this for literally decades, and they've been acting accordingly. It's why they kill so many people, actually. Which is kind of a thing they do a fair bit of. The other thing is... Like, this is the sort of thing that Kirk himself was talking about. So, this is a wild way to start out with the idea that we are going to have to live here with each other. Because, I mean, very clearly, fascists do not want to live here with entire groups of people just because of who they are. And anyone who is made unsafe by the presence of fascists literally cannot live with fascists. Because, again... Fascists want them dead, and they're not fucking playing.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. I mean, gee, are you having trouble with that? Maybe this is the thing. Maybe Ezra Klein, the reason he couldn't find any Charlie Kirk quotes. Yeah, I mean, there's never been a socialist government in the U.S. What happened in the 20s and 30s is that the working class became a real threat to the government. The level of organization and militancy of the unions was massive, and so they had to come up with some way to meet. They had to find some way to defang it, which is how you get the Wagner Act, the National Labor Relations Act, the Fair Labor Standards Act, and all that stuff, and the New Deal programs, as a way to sort of take the edge off the militancy and sort of buy off the people who were looking for some economic security, so that you could divide them for the people who wanted, like, just full-on liberation of the working class. So, I mean, there's never been a socialist government in this country. At most, like, FDR was sort of a social liberal is the term, not even really a social democrat.
Had come. When I'd see some of Kirk's critics mocking or reveling in his murder.
Well, you mean the way Kirk himself mocked and reveled the murder of the people whose deaths he called for? Like, are we just gonna pretend? In Ezra Klein's world, we have to just pretend that Charlie Kirk never said anything.
Sharing clips of his worst moments, suggesting in one way or another that
and they aren't his worst moments; they're typical moments.
He deserved this, that we were better off.
I mean, I wonder if they said these things because this is a guy who spent his entire fucking career calling for violence against marginalized people and telling vicious lies against them. And that maybe when you create a culture of violence, when that is what your career is all about, creating just an atmosphere of violence and violent incitement and shit, that, I mean, that doesn't always work out for you. Like, maybe people are saying that sometimes when you do that, it backfires, literally.
This was not everybody. It was not most of us. It never...
Well, I mean, not most of you, perhaps, but, I mean, that's because you guys suck.
Is. But the nature of online algorithms means that it makes for a lot of what the most politically engaged see of each other. You could feel...
I mean, this guy talking about how he's, like, freaked out about violence when he works for the New York Times, which has cheerled a genocide for nearly 2 years. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the militancy came from that, and it came from, I mean, part of the militancy was also that militancy was getting results. It does actually get results. When you've got unions that are willing to actually go to the fucking mat and really hold it down, for one thing, you tend to get a lot more members that way. Because people join organizations that fight for them, because that's the whole point of joining them. People don't see when you have unions, there was a study of this a few years ago, and it's like the more recently a union was on strike, the more likely they are to be recruiting now. Because if people want to, pay union dues and stuff, they want to do it in a union where they're likely to have people who they can get together and put up a fight with. So yeah, I mean, but that militancy paid off big time, and the government felt forced to do something in order to try to keep the peace, because they tried murdering trade unionists. They killed thousands and thousands of workers. U.S. labor history is bloody as fuck. But it didn't work because people just kept on fighting back.
Temperature rising.
These people need to be defeated, not reasoned with.
You have the...
he's gonna act like this is new. Like, these fascists were all totally peaceful and fucking capybaras until this. This is what he's doing.
Crazies on the far left are saying, oh, Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance, they're going to go after constitutionally protected speech. No.
Well, I mean, you're literally doing that, though. That's, like, literally the thing you're doing. And he's saying this in a speech where he was trying to intimidate people out of constitutionally protected speech. Oh, well, that's simple. I mean, that's just class traitors. That's the thing. I mean, you find them all over the place. Like Earl Browder, who was like, he was the head of the Communist Party during World War II. His kid became some sort of a private equity asshole. I mean, you get a lot of this sort of thing.
We're going to go after the NGO network that foments, facilitates, and engages in violence.
Yeah, so you're going after constitutionally protected speech.
In my life, I don't think we have ever felt as close as we do now to some kind of violent national rupture.
God, I mean, it is so pathetic. When people who are at the New York Times, like this guy, I mean, you see the T and the upper, I mean, he's with the Times. He's also at Vox, which is even more useless, but at least it isn't paywalled. But they just noticed something that people have been dealing with for like 5 or 6 years, and the New York Times has played a major role in getting us here. I mean, there's literally no evidence that he was, though. I mean, there's this copy pasta going around that says that he was, but he never said anything that even suggested it. He was pro-genocide till his dying day. But, like, the New York Times has played a huge role in putting us here because they've been, they helped incite the genocide and defend the genocide. They publish all sorts of, like, propaganda against trans people. They have been, like, egging, and they have a long history of just not noticing fascist violence and smearing anyone who opposes it. That is the context for this.
Because it's not just Kirk. In the last few years, a bullet nearly ended Donald Trump's life. A man tried to burn Josh Shapiro and his family alive in their home. A man broke into Nancy Pelosi's home to kidnap her.
Yes, and pretending to be a cop, and that guy was Fash.
When he didn't find...
Oh, Charlie Kirk thought that was funny, incidentally. Charlie Kirk laughed about that, by the way, Ezra. Maybe you remember that? I guess you must have tuned in a bit late because I was talking about that earlier. And no, it doesn't really surprise me. I mean, the Fash space is full of, like, people who have gotten themselves into circles where they're going to have to, like, repress anything human about themselves. So it does not surprise me that there are a whole lot of closet cases around them. And not only that, the Democrats basically support them in this stuff.
He fractured her 82-year-old husband's skull with a hammer.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk thought that was hilarious, actually.
Former Speaker of the Minnesota House and her husband were assassinated.
He actually cheered that on, too. Like, I mean, he's acting like history began on September 10th. Yeah, I mean, this is like October 7th all over again, where we just sort of pretend nothing happened before that.
The CEO of United Healthcare was gunned down in Midtown Manhattan.
Crying reacts only. Yeah, and everybody fucking laughed. In fact, I mean, my favorite part of that was the far-right griftosphere found themselves at odds with their own comment sections because their own viewers were like, yeah, fuck that guy. He has huge amounts of our blood on his hands. Fuck him.
And many lionized his killer.
Okay, this is actually straight-up libel. Ezra has done a straight-up libel here because Luigi Mangione maintains his innocence. There is the only evidence against him was found in a really miraculous way in Altoona. Like, they'd done two illegal searches of his bag in Altoona. Neither of them was he read his rights, first of all. But the first one was on camera. The cops had their body cams on, and they didn't find shit. Then one of the cops takes it, goes off where nobody else is, turns off her body cam, And suddenly she finds shit. There are no socialist Democrats. Like, AOC is a total just regular-ass Democrat. Bernie Sanders exists to do PR for the Democrats. He will vote with them on just about anything. Because that's the deal.
Violence is viral.
Let me just be clear about one thing. When I talk about the Democrats, I'm talking about the handful of people who actually have any kind of meaningful say in what that organization does. Most of the people who vote, I'm not lumping together the people who are left to choose between their asses and even more unappealing asses in elections, because those people have absolutely no say in the positions the party takes. If they did, the Democrats would be taking totally different positions on all sorts of things.
It infects, it spreads. Violence is combustible.
I mean, like, you work for the New York Times. This waxing poetic about violence. It just really grates when you work for a paper that has been cheering on a genocide.
It blazes into civil wars, into world wars, into totalitarian turns. Who knows which spark will light the wildfire? In the hours after Kirk's murder, trying to process my own shock, my own fear, I wrote a piece about him.
Yes, this is the piece I keep on talking about. The piece where he takes this motherfucker's career of just non-stop telling vicious lies about marginalized people and collecting shitloads of money from shadowy right-wing foundations, and can't find a single quote. Ta-Nehisi Coates did a great send-up of it in Vanity Fair. Most of their donors are right here in the U.S., it's worth noting.
In that piece, I said, you can disagree with virtually everything Kirk believed about politics.
What's interesting is that he did not actually get around to telling people what he believed.
You can detest some of what he believed about politics.
Why can't you detest all of it, actually? Because what he believed was horrible. It was so horrible that Ezra Klein's dishonest ass would not quote a single line.
And still believe that he was there on that stage, practicing politics the right way.
No, but he wasn't. Like, he was fucking content mining. It is the easiest thing ever to do. Like, the whole idea is you get some naive fucking freshmen up there, and you goad them into saying something ill-advised, and then you clip that, and you say, look, this is how, this is what libs are like, and you make a cringe compilation, and you make a shitload of money on AdSense because the algorithm eats that shit up. Like...
Alright, we're gonna get started, everybody. You know how it works.
Showing up to college campuses and trying to persuade people who disagreed with him.
That's not what he was trying to do, though. But, oh wow, like, I love how he's just come up with all these pictures where this ghoulish fuck was, like, smiling to make it look like, to just kind of eclipse what he was saying about, like, gays should be killed, for example. That was one of the things he was trying to persuade people of.
We're gonna be here for a couple hours. Get comfortable. Bring the best libs that Utah has to offer.
I said that I had often wished my own side exhibited more of that spirit.
The grifting spirit? That is actually, I don't... They all suck. I mean, they're all ruling class tools. They all exist to just do propaganda for the capitalist class and divide workers and cause confusion. That's like their entire purpose, and they suck up huge piles of money for it. So, I mean, they all suck, and there are much worse people than any of them. I mean, Ezra Klein is just sort of pathetic in an almost humorous way.
That we went more often to the places where we knew people would disagree with us and talk to
Who's we, by the way?
treated that disagreement as the beginning of a conversation.
Like, I mean, this motherfucker did not say anything about the extreme violence against the anti-genocide protests on campus. And he's going to be he's talking about, there's suddenly violence. There's suddenly violence. It's so weird. For 2 years of genocide, there was no violence. We had just a peaceful genocide. And before that, there was the Unite the Right pogrom in Charlottesville that killed 2 people, but fortunately no political violence, And, the Oklahoma City bombing, but there was fortunately no violence there, because fascists did that shit. This is just so pathetic.
Rather than the end of one. I've published a lot of pieces over the years.
Of shit.
I'm not sure I've published any with as polarizing reaction as that one.
Well, maybe you shouldn't have fucking eulogized a neo-Nazi. No, there is no billionaire that is trying to do good for the working class. Mark Cuban is trying to do the same sort of... It is about placating people. Because the thing you have to know about the pharmaceuticals industry is that they make shitloads of money off of taxpayer-funded research. They don't pay for the research. They don't really pay for much of anything except the marketing. We pay for all that stuff. And this is true in pretty much everywhere. So, the minimum thing, is that stuff should just be manufactured and distributed in the public sector, and capitalists who have absolutely made no contribution to the process should not be able to skim ridiculous amounts of money off the top. We paid for the research, we paid for the development, we paid for the testing, we paid for all of that through taxes. So, when billionaires do this sort of thing, they realize they're trying to placate people because they understand that shit is getting hot. They look at the fact that you have 60% of the population can't pay their bills right now in the US. And they look at the huge number of people who are doing GoFundMes for medical debt. And they realize that at some point this is going to mean pitchforks for the people who have profited off of that. And that's guys like Mark Cuban. I would say so. I don't think it is possible to be... it's it is possible to do a comparatively nice thing and be a billionaire, but the thing is, the whole act of being a billionaire is deeply violent, because you are hoarding that money that is generated by people who are living in poverty. And Mark Cuban, it's worth noting, remember, for about 2 minutes, Kamala Harris was talking about price controls during the campaign. And that was actually a pretty popular thing, because prices are out of fucking control. Have been for a while, and people's wages are way too low. Mark Cuban was the one who told her to stop doing that. Billionaires have interest. It's not so much about good and bad. Their billionaires' interests are diametrically opposed to most of humanity. Their opulence depends on just huge amounts of misery, and you cannot uplift the population out of that misery and maintain that opulence, because it's a zero-sum game. There's only so much stuff on the planet. Law of preservation of mass, etc. But I just noticed the time, and it is time to wrap up for tonight. Thank you for everyone who joined in. Welcome to Sophic Manatee. Welcome to Anthony Manzano. And since we got some new people in here, I'm just gonna go and drop my Discord link into the chat for anyone who would like to join and keep in touch in between streams. I will be back at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing you then. Here is that link. Yeah, that's the thing. It's billionaires, literally, nothing that they do can make up for the fact that what they are is impoverishing people. And with that thought,